Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I'm going to be reviewing Undaunted, and I'm just holding the reinforcements box because I'm reviewing the solo mode, and that's where the solo rules are. So Undaunted is a deck building war game that I've really liked in the past, so I'm actually going to link my original review of this that I ran on the Dice Tower a while back in the comments. And then this is basically just a quick focus on the solo mode, and then how it works, and what I think of it. Alright, so here is a setup for just one scenario of Undaunted with all the solo stuff set up. So if you have played the first scenario of Undaunted Normandy, you might notice there's a little change here and that the decks for the Germans look a little bit different. Basically, you can play Undaunted solo by having either the Undaunted Normandy box or the Undaunted North Africa box with the Undaunted Reinforcements box, which contains extra scenarios and solo rules and cards. So basically, you're still going to have the same objectives. So in scenario 1, you have like the easiest possible objectives. The decks are the same. The objectives are the same. It's kind of an intro mission, but the game will grow with you and you'll still have those sort of asymmetrical goals, those asymmetrical decks, the snipers, the mortars, and in the North Africa version of things, the vehicles. So all of that is going to make an appearance in here. But you're going to play normally, and you can play either side. I set up to play the Americans. You're still going to draw 4 cards. You're going to still choose which one you want to use for initiative. So let's say I want to use this. And then for the solo bot, what you're going to do is you're going to randomly draw a card off their deck. For their initiative. And if they get it from you, they get to keep this card, draw 3 more, and then play them all in initiative order. So the solo bot would play these 4 cards. And I've actually made a video showing you the solo bot playing these 4 cards. So if you want to go check that out, it's, depending on when I post all of this stuff, either available now or going to be within the next few days. So if the AI loses the contest for initiative, this card goes away and they only have 3 cards to play on the turn. So when you're doing initiative, you have to think about, first, do I want to go first? And then second, you have to think about, do I want to let the AI play 1 more card than I'm going to get to play? You got to think about it. All right, so the other thing about the AI here is that you're basically using these little mini flowchart cards to run it. And it's going to tell you in the corners which scenarios it's good for both the German and the US sides. So that's the US scout side. And you have these little flowcharts that you're going to follow. So you basically check if condition 1 is doable. If it is, that's what you do. If flowchart option 1 is a no-go, then you move on to flowchart option 2. If you can do that, you do that one, and that's all you do. And then so on for 3 and 4. So you basically do the one thing off of that card on the scout's turn or the rifleman's turn or whatever it is that is first in line and doable. And then that will direct what the AI does during the game, during its turn. So fortunately, the solo is not actually that complicated. Probably the most complicated part is sifting out the right cards. So you have to get a card for each type of unit that's in the scenario and make sure it's for the correct scenario. And then the other potential issue, it's not a huge deal, but there are multiple rule books to deal with. So you got to deal with the reinforcements books and the Normandy books or the North Africa books, depending on what you're playing. And of course, the rule book will have the solo rules in it. So you're flipping a lot of paper around, especially if you're learning the game for the first time. But no one thing is actually that complicated. And of course, I want to note again that the North Africa scenarios are an option with reinforcements if you have those. And that's very cool, especially because the addition of vehicles that you can put your tokens in and drive around. It's super cool. So the reason there's so many different solo cards is to handle a bunch of different scenarios across 2 different games that have 2 totally different sets of evolving scenarios and abilities and special cards and vehicles. So it's all there, but I just want to give you the very quick overview. And of course, I'll have a small how to solo video for just a turn of this scenario so you can get a sense of what you're actually supposed to do. But for now, let's have some final thoughts. All right, so and now for some final thoughts. I, as you might know, think that Undaunted is a fantastic game system. I thought that Normandy was great, and really the series has only gotten better from there. Undaunted North Africa added a lot of spice and a lot of really cool extras. Undaunted Reinforcements added solo, and I've not played Stalingrad or Battle of Britain, but they look really great too. I've heard amazing things about Stalingrad since it became widely available. So as a system, this one's so good that I really wish I had a consistent second player to play with, because I think that I would end up really liking that. Undaunted has so much to offer, and if you have another person who will play it with you, I really think that the money is well spent. The question is, should you get it for solo? And I think I'm a little bit more up in the air on that. I do want to start with the positive, that the solo mode is really an achievement. I am so impressed that David Digby went through all these scenarios, came up with convincing solo AI for every single one, and then managed to distill that down into the card flow charts that we have. There's a lot of love and attention that goes into a solo mode like that, and I mean, just huge respect for it. I really am impressed with what it's capable of doing. Sometimes it can be extremely difficult to beat, especially because some of the scenarios are already a little bit weighted in favor of one side or the other for historical design reasons. And so the AI is pretty good at putting up a fight. So in the very first scenario of Undaunted Normandy, you're not necessarily going to see that. It's, the interest scenario, so it's a little bit easier for either side to win. But then later there's scenarios that I think are really, really tough and give a real bite. And I am personally really impressed with that. I think that there is so much to respect about the design of this system. At the same time, there are a couple things that make me think, well, if you're going to get this for just solo, maybe think about it for a second. So if you're playing 2-player and solo, I think that Reinforcements as an expansion is a no-brainer, and that you should go ahead and do it, because the solo is definitely good enough to justify just getting Reinforcements to play solo. If you're thinking about starting from the ground up with Undaunted specifically to play it solo, I'm not entirely sure that that is the way to go, mainly because the investment is so deep. So basically, you could choose to just buy 2 boxes, so either Undaunted Normandy or Undaunted North Africa, plus Reinforcements. But if you do that, then you can't use everything in the Reinforcements box, because a lot of the stuff in the Reinforcements box is for one, and the other is for the other one. So you really need both of those first base games to make Reinforcements fully valuable in terms of its contents. And then getting all 3 of them ends up being kind of expensive. So I just checked Amazon today just to look. So Reinforcements is even on there right now. I'm going to guess it's somewhere in like maybe $50 is my guess, maybe 60. Hopefully no higher than that to buy Reinforcements. But it was about 40 and about 40 to 50 for Normandy and for North Africa. So basically what we're looking at is somewhere between $120 and $150 to play this solo system. And I would 100% drop that for something that's custom built for solo, like Hoplomachus Victorum. I personally, if my review copy were taken away right now, I would turn right around and I'd plop $150 down and I would buy Hoplomachus Victorum, because it's built for solo to an extent that I think is worth it. And I spend all my money on board games. Are we surprised? But if you're thinking about just getting the whole Undaunted sets in order to play the solo scenarios, if you've got the disposable income and you're just really dying to play this game, maybe. But I think that if you are just looking for a solo game to play and you aren't specifically interested in Undaunted and you have no one else to play it with, I would maybe think about that, because you're going to have to go in really, really deep before you can even be sure if you like the game, because of the amount of investment that it takes to get multiple boxes and all the stuff. The other reason is that, so I don't really mind the little mini flowcharts. In fact, they're pretty chill compared with some of the AIs that I've dealt with on this channel. But I can also see that, part of the beauty of Undaunted is how snappy it is. Like, it's a really quick, nasty little deck builder. It's a lot of fun to play because, you're making these relatively, at least ostensibly simple decisions. You only do one thing per card. But there are incredible consequences throughout the course of gameplay. And it plays pretty quickly, it plays pretty smoothly and simply, and the AI is not bad, but it does add a lot of extra steps and a lot of complexity to a process that is just super simple when there's another person. And so if you're looking for the feeling of playing Undaunted, so a little bit of mystery of wondering what the other person's going to do, a little bit of snap because everybody's play is going back and forth more quickly and you don't have to run the AI, then I'm not really sure you're going to love Undaunted solo. I'm not sure it's going to be what you're looking for. You have to be willing to tolerate finding all the right cards, checking the setup, learning any special things about the scenario, and then, playing it through by looking back and forth between the board state and the cards to do the little flowchart to make everything work out. And again, I don't necessarily mind that personally. That said, if I'm looking for a solo game to play and I'm just having chill time, I may not actually pick up Undaunted to play solo for that, because I kind of feel like it's more work than the game intends to be. And so, when it comes to something like a coin game, I'm absolutely going to tolerate the bots because I feel like that's part of the coin experience, and I've accepted that by the time I pick up a coin game to play. If I'm playing something like Undaunted, I'm looking for a much lighter and speedier and smoother experience, and I do kind of feel like doing it solo doesn't capture that feeling, and it makes it a little bit harder to appreciate just the absolute beauty of the design. So it's not bad, and it's not something that I never play, but it's also not a go-to, just because it's a good solo mode, but I'm not really sure this game was ever really intended to be solo, and so it's got that kind of feeling of wow, I can make this work. In fact, I can make this work surprisingly well, but, does it feel right? That's kind of a iffier question for me. Other than that, just a few general nitpicks. So some scenarios just run a lot better than other ones because, there's a whole bunch of different scenarios across these boxes and the cards have to work for everything. So, sometimes I feel like the AI almost works too well. Other times it makes decisions that I'm like, wait, you did what? And that changes, the deadliness of the AI can vary from scenario to scenario and from difficulty level to difficulty level. I personally think that is worth rolling with if you just really like to play Undaunted. It's an interesting experience to pitch yourself against the AI. But again, as I mentioned, if you are trying to be a little bit cheaper with your solo game investment, I would not say that Undaunted Solo is such a premier thing that you need to sink $120 to $150 into it, or even the $80 to $90 that you would if you only got 2 boxes. I also think that if you don't want to deal with flowcharts, or if you were looking for a game that had some snap, don't play Undaunted solo. Get something else. There are much tighter, snappier, little thinky solo games that you could play that don't involve this amount of sifting through different rulebooks and sifting through different cards. That said, the achievement is respectable. I really think highly of Digby's work, and I really appreciate pulling this out from time to time and just seeing how smart AI can be off of a few cards with flowcharts on them. I mean, it's really amazing, and I really appreciate the work and the love that went into that. So I sort of feel like Undaunted is a mixed bag for solo. You could probably tell, but it's certainly not bad. It has its moments of brilliance. I'm just not sure that it's such a premier solo mode that it's worth going all in. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, ask questions, maybe support me on Patreon if you'd like me to make more game videos instead of teach summer school next year. And most of all, happy gaming.